program is presented by the Commonwealth Bank.
Oran Park, near Camden, Sydney, in Australia, 1988, all-historic race meeting, with 400 cars and 100 motorcycles competing for some magnificent trophies to be decided over 2 days of racing here on the long circuit. Cars ranging from 1908 to the 1970s, which embraces touring cars, sports cars, vintage cars and all-out racing cars. I'm John Cummins. I've been competing and announcing for more years than I care about. That's me there in the white car. So sit back and relax and enjoy some of the good, the bad and the ugly. And that goes for the drivers as well. And not to mention the Appendix J tin tops, which always provide plenty of close racing. How about the sports car action? This meeting, Historic 88, was made possible by the Commonwealth Bank and the Bicentennial Authority, making it the race meeting of a lifetime. And the hard-working President Stephen Knox and the members of the HSRCA made it a memorial event. All cars, of course, have got to be scrutineered. Doesn't matter whether they're old motor cars or not so old motor cars. They're checked for suspensions, throttle linkages, steering, and they get the OK sticker when all is well. Signed in the book, and the cars are ready to go out onto the circuit.
Right, thank you very much.
To this event, cars came from all over the world. The classic Lotus Cortina, the 1908 Buick of the Reed family, to the tremendous, exciting Appendix J's of all sorts of motor cars that graced the Australian circuits in the 1960s. The EH, one of the tremendous cars that supplies so much enjoyment. To the oddity of motorsport, the Morgan three-wheeler. The other end of the scale, the Formula 5000s. Or the mean machine, the Sabrina Austin.
Any problems with it?
No, no problems at all today.
I think we'll brain them.
It's a lot of fun. A hell of a lot of fun.
Runs a 3-litre Austin Healey engine, which runs a supercharger. Probably one of the faster cars in the Group LB class here today. The reason it's called is, of course, is that that sort of signifies the way it handles.
I'll be in my usual place down the tail of the field.
We're happy to run Group N, which is a good class, it's cheap, and stay with touring cars, you know. It's sort of more of a fun thing now. I mean, we've been at it for about 22 years.
Well, Harry and I have been fighting one another on the circuit for years, but it looks like today we're not going to fight at all because my car's blowing up. I've blown a cylinder wall out on my MG, and I see Harry's got the head off his, and he's looking a bit pale, so I think there's something terribly wrong with that one too.
Right, so you had a bit of bad luck in that one?
No, it's not bad luck, it's just something you just got to cope with. It's no good, so you swap it. I started in 46, racing this sort of car with my own money, which in those days was nothing. You didn't have any money. So you sort of made do and made bits and pieces. And this car was made out of a crashed MG, which I bought for 280 pounds. 280 pounds in those days was a lot of money. Now also, about that time I had other things, and the supercharger cost 300 pounds more than the car did. Everyone's saying you're mad, that won't be any good, it's not the way to go, but it was always the best car, and it still is because it's out of the historic era. You see, and that's something which has been built for about £1,000 at the most, and it'll beat, well, on level terms with Lister Jaguar or anything like that.
Well, I had a little bit of an upset at Winton. I think either my head got too big for the crash helmet or something, but I don't seem to be able to lay any blame with anyone but myself, and I had the misfortune to tip it over 2.5 times, and the chap over there who won't come and be recognised, he put in a lot of work.
I should go all right. Some of the driver were worried about now.
So, you enjoy winning?
Yes, definitely.
And what's your secret behind it then?
V8 power.
So says Max Warwick in the McLaren. To Roy Best in a Healy.
I'm 25.
How long have you been driving?
Oh, well, this is my second year. I had my first race in 1987 in Sandown. Sort of was behind everybody. Discovered how quick they're all going. Progressively, I've been getting a little bit better. Getting a bit more encouragement. Hopefully I'll win.
It's all good fun, and we're really having a great weekend with all of these wonderful cars out here.
This particular car is a 1960 Turner. It's a Turner Mark II, which there are two of. One by Des Lucas, which is not here this weekend, which is unfortunate, through mechanical failure. So Richard and myself are here to represent the Turner field in Australia.
Pre-war cars, factory cars, Australian specials, all made up the pre-war scene of Australian motor racing in all states, to the Grand Prix Bugatti of Max Lanes, a beautiful example.
I should do reasonably well. There's obviously some faster cars than I am, but I'll keep up there. I'll give them something to think about.
Well, it's going all right in practice. We hope it's keep going. It's got to go to the Grand Prix in 2 weeks' time. So we're just hanging in there and hope we don't break it or bend it.
You always work, clever Frank, especially with money, and you work such long hours, too. So, who's lucky enough to have you working for them, Frank? A bank? Which bank?
Last year, every Formula One Grand Prix was won on Goodyear tyres. This year, the most advanced performance tyres for the road carry the same name. Goodyear, we're racing to bring you a better tyre.
Historica, 81 Windsor Road, Northmead. We have over 2,000 different books for cars and bikes. In addition, we have a terrific variety of videos covering a wide range of rallies and races from all over the world. Our friendly staff will assist you to find just the book you have been looking for. For your free catalogue, phone 630-6833.
Maybe you think I choose Valvoline just for my cars. Not true. You see, I want Valvoline protection for everything. I like quality, and that's why I use Valvoline coolant winter and summer. I look to Valvoline for its complete protection against corrosion, friction, and oxidization. Valvoline. Know what I mean?
Harry Firth did make the grid after all.
I guess I'm like most of the guys here. We're all coming back living a second childhood. We're all driving the cars that we probably would have loved to have driven when we were watching them go around the circuits. And I think if you look around, you'll probably find I'm not much different to anybody else. This was the sort of car I would have loved to have owned in the 50s, and now I'm driving it in the 80s. We're both historic. We both run on alcohol. And my wife claims we're both yellow, so it's the car's a goer. It's been through a lot of hands. It's probably been raced and crashed on nearly every circuit in Australia.
It's a hobby, really. They're all Formula One cars. I work on them. I've got a mechanic full time, but still do the engines. Thoroughly enjoy it, and it keeps me out of mischief. I run them all. I'm not a serious racing driver in that context, but I enjoy it. I try and drive within myself, and the cars go well, and other people enjoy it. That's what I'm really looking for.
But how do you
It's a magnificent design. They've always been leaders in their field. They have good years and bad years, and I've just got some of the good ones, and I'm quite happy with them. So it's going to be a good weekend, and I think everyone will enjoy themselves.
It's a bit of a beast, being front engine. You've got to be careful, otherwise likely to turn around and bite you. But it's all good fun.
A very warm welcome to everyone to this very important historic race meeting. It is without doubt the biggest historic race meeting ever held in Australia, and we think it's probably the biggest of this type of meeting ever held in the world. And thank you for being part of it and making it all those things. Adrian Smith from the Bicentennial Authority.
The authority says thank you. Thank you very much for making our bicentennial year just that much better. It's a very, very special program over the next 2 days, and we wish you all the best. Thank you, international people, for coming. Enjoy our country and enjoy your bicentennial event.
The pre- and post-war racing car race for Pi Audio Trophy is a mixture of the good, the bad and the ugly once again, and the good, Dr. King in the Anzani Bugatti. Some of the ugly, the Austin Sevens, the mainstay of pre-war motor racing. Bugatti of John Fitzpatrick, the Fraser Amilcar, Nasty Norm Bice and the LaFrancis, the Reed family V8 racer, more V8s yet again, Reese Mackay and the Riley, Steen Peterson, the M-Type MG that started the whole business of MG racing. Coming up to the grid, the start, the M-Type yet again. Ron Reed, the patriarch of the Reed racing family. The Ford doing its usual thing, boiling. The Amilcar of Richard Stanley's. Malcolm Reed. And they're off in this pre- and post-war race car race, and this is a scene that could be anywhere from the late 1930s to the late 1940s or early 50s. All these cars raced together. Handicap racing was the order of the day. The Welcome Special being the typical air-cooled vehicle that it is, refusing to start and being pushed off the circuit. While the rest of the competitors round on the back of the circuit all having a lovely time. Different lines, different styles, different speeds, but all in there dicing, and that's what it's all about. Historic racing, racing for trophies. A retirement, one of the early Coopers, Struttigat stuff. The Ford and the Hudson, the Bugatti, the Riley, Austins. Max Lane sounding as it should in that beautiful Bugatti. The Cooper yet again. Rob Rowe in the Amilcar just telling everybody where to go, which he's pretty good at most of the times anyway. Lancia Meadows of Rob Harcourt all the way down from Queensland, thoroughly enjoying his day at Oran Park. Max Lane retiring, unfortunately, but that's the way of motor racing. Or should we say motorsport, because there's not too much motor racing here, it's all motorsport. Cars coming in after the completion of this pre- and post-war race for the Pi Audio Trophy. The English Morgan three-wheeler, incredible motor car, and Peter Giddings from the US with the beautiful Alpha. And the MG specials, which of course make up every racing field in any post-war race anywhere in Australia. Post-war sports cars, pre-1961, John Merrick at 71, the oldest driver in the event, and Harry Firth at 70, the second oldest driver in the event. The field, many and varied, the aerodynamic, the square riggers, once again factory cars, home-built specials, all make up the field of the post-war sports racing cars. Paul Lurch from New Zealand in the beautiful Lister Jaguar. TC specials, many and varied, the fiberglass specials of the late 50s from the various factories. David Doubtfire from Victoria in the Buchanan. The Buckle. Lotuses. Cars pulling up onto the grid for the start of the sports car race. Paul Samuels in the ex-Leeton Motors Lotus 15 on the outside on the front row of the grid, making a great start with the Lister Jaguar. Faster cars getting off the line. Square riggers, the fiberglasses yet again. The hard tops, which were the follow-on from the sports cars of the late 50s into the early 60s. The U2 Clubman car, which was the first of the ultralight sports cars to revolutionise sports car racing of the very late 50s and early 60s and right up through the 60 period. Ken Rowan, the square rigger that he's been driving for some 20 odd years, plus a bit. The bitch filling up the screen yet again. Paul Samuels in the Lotus 15. Paul Lurch sitting there just in behind him, and I think he's playing a cat and mouse game with Paul. Harry Firth and the U2 having a real dice down the straight, and the Milano MG. And that's what it's all about, dicing all the way around the circuit. And the beautiful car of Jim Adams there. Oh, and the TC getting over which way as it comes round through BP corner. Well-deserved win from this very enthusiastic New Zealander. The last time he was here, he had raced in the rain, and yet he still won very handsomely. Jim McEwen making a welcome return to motorsport in the Elfin Aero Car 30, and acquitted himself very well in this particular meeting after a long absence from the sport, and he was welcomed by just about everybody in the pits. It was great to see him back again. Harry Firth, of course, who's never left the scene, being a team manager or a competitor.
See, I ran the Holden dealer team for 62 to 68. Sorry, the Ford team, and then the Holden team from 68 to 77. We've run in, first of all, with our own cars. We built this sort of car. Then we went into touring cars and round Australia rallies and all sorts of things. Armstrong 500s and Bathurst, touring car championships. In all that, all the lessons you learn making your own cars all carry through right through, regardless of whatever sort of car it is. And practically all the new things which come out, the disc brakes and the special suspension and all the new things for Australian cars, all came from that era. They've got to get back to grassroots motorsport, and the public have got to be able to see the sort of car which they drive. That's all they understand, the Australian public. They don't want to see, well, I see Grand Prix cars once a year, but they don't want to see the other sort of cars, and they're not really interested in Ford Sierras. Ford Sierras aren't sold here. Not that sort. They don't want to see that. They want to see their own sort of car race.
I like to change my cars, but I never change my oil. Well, I change my oil, but not my brand of oil, because I want real protection. You know what I mean? Valvoline.
Valvoline XLD New Generation Motor Oil with secret additive Chemalloy for protection against corrosion, oxidation, gum formation.
Protection for all my cars. You know what I mean?
Valvoline, the symbol of protection since 1866.
They take years to restore, but can be destroyed in a second. Now, with the right insurance, you have peace of mind. I'm a car enthusiast and needed insurance to suit my car. HSRCA and VGL offers you your choice of repairer, agreed value cover, low excesses, easy to understand policies, and special cover for restorers. What more can you ask for? Call HSRCA and VGL for a quote on your car on 630-6833.
In the past 20 years, well over 500,000 Australian families have bought their homes with loans from one bank. Which bank?
Unique Cars is Australia's car enthusiasts marketplace. Unique Cars offers the largest selection of vintage, veteran, sports, prestige and exotic cars for sale in Australia. Unique Cars is Australia's largest selling monthly car magazine. It's also the place for classified sale and wanted ads, spare parts, club notices, swap meets and coming events. On sale at your local newsagent or selected supermarkets. Moving on to the more sophisticated motor cars, the M&O cars, the sophisticated form of motor racing with wings and spoilers, wide wheels and tyres that really hang on, where you drive the car to the limits of ability and don't let it oversteer because it will snap at you. Sometimes it snaps at you when you try to start it. Very famous cars moving out for the M&O events. Marshall in the 68 Brabham BT26 coming onto the grid, and also their car 64 Paul Hamilton in the Elfin 600, well-known New South Wales competitor in open wheel racing for many, many years. Car 20 there, of course, is the Bill Marshall car, the Brabham BT23. Car 11, Rex Colliver from Victoria in the Brabham B26. And the Honourable John Dawson Damer in his Lotus. Although these are historic motor cars, they are very, very rapid and they're at the top end of the scale. Some famous names: Frank Gardner, Sir Jack Brabham, previous owners and drivers of these very, very quick motor cars. As in all forms of motorsport, there are blokes that don't make it, and they've got to walk back to the pits regardless of what or how you're driving. Sometimes they don't finish. Paul Hamilton in the Elfin. He's fairly serious about the whole event. Bill Marshall yet again. DD. Ray Delaney from Victoria in his BT30 Brabham. Very keen competitor and makes most of the historic scene. Couple of retirements there. And yet another.
This was Jack Brabham's Formula One for 1968. It was then Frank Williams' Formula One for 1969. It was Williams' first F1 car. And then went to South Africa after that. He came back to Australia about 6 years ago.
The voice of Bill Marshall describing his car that he's running in this event. The lucky people sitting up in the stand in the shade, because it was a hot race meeting, whether we liked it or not. That's the way the weather god turned it out for historic 88. Some cars boiled, some cars didn't, but everybody tried. In the dummy grid, getting ready for the Group M race. Some well-known faces adorning crash hats, moving up onto the grid for the start of the Group M race. Alan Tucker in the Delta Ford, car 15. These cars, of course, are built pre-65. More sophisticated than the front engine cars, less sophisticated than their later model cousins, the Group O's, but still very, very rapid indeed. Great following in every circuit that they appear anywhere around Australia. All these cars usually get 4 or 5 races from the length and breadth of Australia, and most of the drivers compete at least 1 or 2 interstate meetings in the course of the 12-month calendar. They all have their favourite circuits, and the spectators have some of their favourite cars, and they cheer them on accordingly. Derry George from Victoria with Mark Potter driving in the Brabham BT18. Derry George, of course, a well-known name for many, many years in motor racing in all its forms and the preparation of cars. And his father was a tech teacher at the Swinburne Tech College in Melbourne. Tony Armstrong, Victoria, in the Brabham BT14. '99, not out. Alan Bannister in the Cooper Climax T51, not making it quite to the finish. The last lap bored up, and a race that he didn't finish.
Number 9 first. Second place, 19.
Herb Neal in the Neal Ford, having a successful run after a disastrous return to motor racing. He had a lot of problems with this motor car when it was new, and he had a lot of problems when he rebuilt it. But he's now overcome them all and is back in the ranks and thoroughly enjoying himself yet again. The Appendix J's, the Golden Oldies. Ken Zinner in the Humpy, the crowd's favourite of the 60s, and these were the cars that really had everybody up and jumping in the early days of Oran Park, when it was a very much smaller circuit than the cars are racing on today. Great diversity of cars, and this is probably the thing that turns people most on about historic racing, is that they all look different. They don't all look the same. They don't go through the same wind tunnel. They've never even seen a wind tunnel, most of these vehicles. Bricks, EHs, more EHs, Mustangs, yet again an EH. It's not a Formula EH, although it's starting to turn out like that. Tilley in the Valiant. Some big bore Fords. Morris Majors, Humpies yet again. Early model Valiants. Jaguars, the cars that David Mackay, Ross Hodson, Bill Pitt all made famous. The Gagans, the late Brian Muir. Alphas. The old Golden Oldies, the Tin Tops. They get out of shape, and that's what the crowd like. Narrow tyres, radials only. They smoke them. They slide them. Waiting for the start, the little 105E Anglia. Watch the wheel spin as they leave the line. No shortage of loose smoke. Cars run in classes, of course, up to 1300, 13 to 16, 16 to 2 litre, 2 litre to 3 litre, 3 litre and over. Mark Duquet in the twin cam Cortina.
This car is a genuine factory race car. The compliance plates and everything on it, it's a 1964 Ford factory race car. The engine's a 310 cubic inch small block Ford running IDA Webers, 4 IDA Webers, compression ratio of about 12 to 1. And it's running about 440 horsepower at 7,500 revs.
Voice of Dennis O'Brien from O'Brien's Diesel Engineering in Wagga, long-time sedan enthusiast and a great campaigner in Appendix J racing. A little bit of a spin out there, or a large spin out of the Chick Kelly sand gravel of Darryl Kelly's in his Mustang there, waiting to rejoin the circuit and get back into the action. Doesn't matter how many laps they miss out when they get into the grass, they still want to get back there and have a go. Car 17 there, Laurie Donaher in his Mustang, with a southern flavour if you have a look at the roof. Mark Duquet in the ex-Paul Trevethan Lotus Cortina, one of the most successful cars on the circuit, and campaigns this vehicle just about every race circuit in Australia. The powerful Valiants run out of brakes very early in the race, but they really get off the line and they stir them up while they have brakes to stop them. Not that this worries most of the Appendix J drivers, because they throw them sideways at the drop of the hat, and even if they don't drop the hat, they still throw them sideways. They like driving the cars that way. And the old humpies still in there, along with the Austin Lancers of the period. Bruce Stewart in car 84 drove humpies back in their early days, moved to EHs when Appendix J reappeared on the scene, and it looks as though his son Darren Stewart is also having a punt at this meeting. Some of the Mustangs getting a little hotter than first expected. That's Darryl Kelly, and once again Laurie Donaher in the Southern Ford. Engines breathe a sigh of relief as they move back into the pit lane after completion of the Appendix J race. Was that a rude sign from Mark Duquet? Well, that one wasn't. The late and great Peter Manton used to move his car from right to left-hand steering, depending on what the circuit direction was in the early days, and always used to manage to have a left-hand drive car at Katoomba and a right-hand drive car at Warwick Farm. And he only weighed about 3.5 pounds anyway, skinny, but a great mini exponent and a well-remembered competitor. Tilly's, great Valiant exponents, the whole family of them. Regularity trials for the cars that are a little bit older and not quite as competitive as their younger brothers, or a little more precious in the view of their owners, or the guys that haven't got a racing licence, or that they feel they're too old to race. And regularity trials gives them a chance to air their cars, and the idea of a regularity trial is for the car to go out and practice and you nominate a lap time. Having nominated the lap time, you then must stick to it. Any variation, slower or faster, by a second, incurs a second penalty for every second slower or faster than your nominated time. This requires a fair degree of skill if you wish to win a regularity. Other people just don't care, decide it's a dice and go out and have a damn good time. Bob Winley in the 1938 DKW, regular competitor, a proper Vauxhall, the Morgans, even a veteran. Austin Sevens, large and small, the Revving Reverend. Brian Johnson in the Riley. Tom Stevens in car 8, the TF. Tom, a very well-known competitor and very smart MG tuner of the 50s from South Australia. The Morris Cowley, the 328 BMW, one of the very, very rare motor cars to grace our circuits, and won the 1947 Grand Prix at Point Cook at the hands of Frank Pratt. The large Bentleys, the diminutive Austins, of all shapes and sizes. Rustic Russ Johnson in car 27. 33 is John Eadie in the 47 TC. J2 MGs, the Horsies Morgan. Joe Wilson from Queensland, Terry Wright. The Vauxhalls, the strength of the Vintage Club in New South Wales. The Reed family's Buick. Rob Robson from Queensland in his 35-29 Austin. And all these guys thoroughly enjoying themselves, airing their old motor cars. Roger DuPont from Victoria in the 1934 Lagonda Rapier. Car 24, one of the Morgan three-wheelers, that's Joe Wilson from Queensland in the Morgan Super Aero. And he found this Anzani engine, which was originally designed for a light aircraft, in a crate some 15 years ago. Uncrated it and put it into the Morgan, and it's the right engine for that particular car, strange as it may seem. It was a double-purpose vehicle. Car 105, Bill Harris in the Harris Special. Bill, of course, was one of the mechanics in the Cooper Climax days and into his 70s now, but still very, very keen competitor. The Morgan three-wheelers are a race apart. Paul Armstrong in his 1929 Morgan Aero. The car's moving in after their regularity run, and it's a nightmare for the timekeepers to sort out who is going to win. And the guy who wins is the guy that identically repeats his nominated lap time. Triumph 9s, Austin 8 of John Merrick's, oldest driver at the meeting at 71 years of age. Vauxhalls, TFs.
With a bit of help from the broom. Snake! Snake! Screams Mouse 3 and whammy, in you go.
Guys! Oh, there you are. Where are we going?
I don't know. Fucked if I know. Anywhere but here. Shitty fuckity crap. It's got my tail. It's got me. Oh, no, I'm good. Welcome.
Get your ass off me.
Surrender. I surrender. Yeah. Very little resistance from the mice. You can tell the human's happy. The way they move the broom is incredibly smug. This rodent is up to something. Or he tries to dodge the bucket. Or for some reason it wants to go back in with Monty. Intriguing. It would rather risk getting eaten by a snake than submit to the bucket of a human. That says something. I guess the intentions of a human are unclear, whereas you know what you're getting with a snake. It wants to devour you. They look comfortable. I feel like they're going to be moved to greener pastures like the neighbour's yard, or you can escape entirely between bucket changes. Jump and run. Piss bolt. No, you soft cock. You obedient little rat. Missed opportunity. Fuck me dead, shouts that big unit. It lands on the other one and crushes it. Everyone's tired, which is common after an interrupted orgy. Surely that's all of them. Surely. Oh, wait, no. There's another big fucker. What if the mice have actually eaten the snake? They all look like they have full tummies. There's a master plan that we're not seeing here. These pesky feral bastards are never this easy to catch. They bloody killed the reptile. They're acting like they haven't. They're like, oh, I'm so scared. Someone needs to warn the human with his smug broom motions. He's about to get ambushed. These mice have been playing 4D chess. He's playing Connect 4 with his little python. Yeah. Oh, wait, no, that slimy dickhead is back. He's like, no worries whatsoever, Davo. I'll email you through me invoice tonight. Now, we never stipulated dead or alive, so I have a confession. I may have had lunch on the job. A few of them decided to be smartasses, though. Yeah, just pull. I'm way bigger than when I went in. So, no, I had to shut them up. Just pull me. Pull me gently, though, like you would with your own snake between your legs. Bit of a dodgy joke. Crikey. Okay, nah. Job done. Devour the like button. Do it. Also, another update on AussieManShop.com.
Cars and bikes. In addition, we have a terrific variety of videos covering a wide range of rallies and races all over the world. Our friendly staff will assist you to find just the book you have been looking for. For your
That building in the noted sportsman. Car 78, Oran Sampson in the 1968 Chevron V8. On pole position, Max Warwick beside him, creeping a little at the start. Away they go. Of Ian Popes, the rear-engined mini-engine car, really getting well and truly stuck about for a tiny car, doing very, very well indeed. Club and racing cars which saw so much action on this circuit, on the short circuit, in the early 60s. Supplied some very, very spectacular races. Brian Sampson, of course, has raced just about every sort of motor car there is. His business, Motor Improvements, is a business that super tunes engines, and he's been doing it for a long period of time. Car 2, Peter and Margaret Sims in the Elan. Probably the most enthusiastic family pair in historic racing. Car 6, Maury Targa and Mark Pemberton in the Lotus 23B. Murray Bryden from Victoria in his 65 Lotus 23B. Max Warwick still showing the way round in his car. Brian Sampson in the Chevron. Virtually unbeatable in Grupo sports car racing. Unless Max Warwick gives him a little bit of hurry up in the McLaren M1. Car 51, Laurie Knight in the Renmax. Car 40, one of the clubmen of Jim Collins in the HRB Ford Special. Freddie Vogel yet again in the total team colours of the Gagans of the period. Car 12. Pat Golding yet again in the Notice Sportsman, the Parramatta built motor car. Murray Bryden, he's 23. Production sports cars, Healy 100s, 100Ss, Cole Porter in his Healy Sprite.
She's a 1951 Morgan. It's been raced and developed over a period of almost 30 years, and I acquired the car about 12 years ago.
So yourself, you've been racing for how many years?
About 3 years now.
And would you call yourself a newcomer to the...
Yeah, really, yeah. And it's an ego trip. It's a lot of fun. Good bunch of guys in it. We just go for a nice cruise.
Car 35, John Dowsett in the Austin Healy 104. Car 11, Peter Kleinberg from Queensland in his TR2. And car 63, one of the very rare Healy Silverstones of David Gleans. The Turners, Mark I Sprites, MGAs, Silverstones, more MGs, TRs, Healys, Morgans. This car is a bit of a grandma's axe, but there we are. Elva Courier of Ian and Nick McDonald's, probably the most successful car currently running in LA sports. The Corvette of Don Thallons from Queensland, making its initial debut in New South Wales, and the XK150 from South Australia. The Healys are also supplemented there by Lotus Elites. That tense moment waiting for the start. Watch the start from Don Thallon in the big powered V8 Corvette, the 100S off the line. Likewise the XK150 hardtop. Paul Samuels in the red Healy Silverstone. Glean in the green car. And the Sunbeams. Handicap racing, which is a part of historic racing, making it very, very interesting because theoretically they all come over the line together at the finish of the race. It doesn't always happen, but sometimes it's very, very close indeed. Car 1, Colin Dodds in his Healy Sprite. Very clean example of an original Mark I Sprite. The big Corvette using up a bit more road than there is. Don Thallons. He'll return, thumping his way across the grass and back onto the circuit yet again, while the more nimble motor cars stay on the island. 22, that's the McDonald Elva Courier, one of the fastest cars on the circuit. Car 3, Jeff Morse in his Sunbeam Alpine. All these guys have a great time together. These cars have no Pacific history, but they were cars that were raced in the period. great following, fairly easy to obtain and fairly expensive to maintain and be competitive. Little yellow Turner there, in there having a go. Staying just ahead of Fallon, the Sabine Aston Martin. And the big and small bore cars all seem to come together towards the end of the race. Appropriate number plate, Austin Healy Sprite 001 for Colin Dodds. Courier. Bill Hemming from Victoria in the red XK 150, numbered 150, very appropriate of course. And car 28, Rob Jamieson in the Healy 100, a car that he raced when they were new all those years ago, and he also races a Humphrey Holden just to keep his hand in, which he also raced when they were new. In fact, races both cars at quite a few of the meetings. Lotus Elites. The Aston, probably one of the most expensive cars you could wish to race in. Murray now at Targa in the ex-Bill Patterson, Teddy Yip, Theodore Racing Team, Formula 5000, Lola T332, the most exciting historic motor cars ever to grace the circuit. Nearly all of them Chev powered, some 500 odd horsepower, very, very spectacular, and get mobile very, very rapidly. Australia's premium race cars for 11 years. They were Formula One cars in Australia. Nowadays, of course, they're part of history, but probably better prepared and running much more reliably than they did in their time period. Peter Brennan from Victoria in car 2. They're away. Just look at that wheel spin as they leave the line. Murray now at Targa, stalled on the start. Bad luck for Murray. Being pushed off. Now whether he's going to start it or not. No, Murray's a retirement. Beautifully turned out car. The cars can represent any period they like when they race, but they can't have any two periods on the one motor car. If it's raced in 79, it's got to be 79. If it was 76, it's got to be the 76 livery. Bob Minogue dominates Formula 5000 these days, a driver of considerable talent. In his latter years, in his younger days, was fairly hairy, but he's really found his form in his particular car, and that is the 1977 Lola T430, raced by Alfie Costanzo, and Australian Grand Prix winning motor car. To stand on the track beside these cars is absolutely shattering. They absolutely shake the ground as they go past. Very, very spectacular. George Palby in his Lola T400. And car 10 there, Peter Addison in the McLaren M10B. Minogue dominating this form of racing of the last few years. Nevertheless, there's a lot of people in there, all thoroughly enjoying driving these very, very rapid motor cars. Also moving in there, Peter Brennan and car 25, Paul Cromarty from Victoria in his Lola T332. Car 11, Paul Trevethan from Victoria in the Elfin MR8C. Targa did finally get started. Car 18, Mike Glynn from Victoria in his Lola T400.
The car was built in 1954 in Tasmania by a guy called Mick Watt in 54. Raced all his life in Tasmania. I bought the car in mid-70s and brought it back to Melbourne and we restored it in 1979.
Maybach 3, one of the most famous racing cars ever built in Australia, and car 43 is Greg Mariner from Victoria in the TC Cigar. Car 2 is Paul Moxham in the Cooper Maserati Type 51. Car 15 from Adelaide, the Noel Roscoe entered car driven by Kevin Shearer. The Jaguar powered car, John Virgo.
Jaguar. It runs on straight methanol. It's got a Jaguar engine. Develops about 330 horsepower. And it weighs about 1400 weight. So you've got about 550 horsepower per tonne. Wigram we were doing about 145 mile an hour down the straight.
Which is not bad for a front engine racing car. Out they come now for the pre-1961 race car race. There's doing a burnout. Or is he just getting sideways as normal? In Tate, Ford 10 Special. Vincent pulling out. Greg Mariner in the Cigar TC, made famous by Brudler and Thomas. And the HWM Jaguar car 15 with Kevin Shearer really getting stuck about this race. And he's looking pretty good at the moment. Thoroughly enjoying it. In the past, we've seen him drive the incredible A-model Ford, but today it was the HWM Jaguar. Reed Special. And so ends 3 full days of historic racing at the bicentennial Oran Park race meeting, and we would like to thank Production Oz for covering this meeting and all their helpers that worked so hard in those very humid and difficult conditions right throughout the 3 days. John Cummins, thanking you for your attention and look forward to seeing you at the next historic race meeting. And we hope you don't have to wait 200 years.
This has been the best meeting that's been for 2 or 3 years, without any doubt. Got full credit to the people who organised it. And there's 400 cars, and the normal organisers here have got a lot of trouble to even deal with 100 cars, let alone put on something like this for 3 days.
Yeah, and it's really, it was a sad thing really with this day that Harry at one stage I thought he had a first place and I didn't recognise it. And it's really upset me because he never goes away from a meeting without a trophy.
That's true, Harry? Well, it doesn't really worry me, but they did have a first in class, which is what we thought was one. We didn't, so it doesn't matter. I've got plenty of faith in that. What's what you never decide?
Last year, every Formula One Grand Prix was won on Goodyear tyres. This year, the most advanced performance tyres for the road carry the same name. Goodyear, we're racing to bring you a better tyre.
They take years to restore, but can be destroyed in a second. Now, with the right insurance, you have peace of mind. I'm a car enthusiast and needed insurance to suit my car. HSRCA and VGL offers you your choice of repairer, agreed value cover, low excesses, easy to understand policies, and special cover for restorers. What more can you ask for? Call HSRCA and VGL for a quote on your car on 630-6833.
Unique Cars is Australia's car enthusiasts marketplace. Unique Cars offers the largest selection of vintage, veteran, sports, prestige and exotic cars for sale in Australia. Unique Cars is Australia's largest selling monthly car magazine. It's also the place for classified sale and wanted ads, spare parts, club notices, swap meets and coming events. On sale at your local newsagent or selected supermarkets.
In the past 20 years, well over 500,000 Australian families have bought their homes with loans from one bank.
Which bank?